Hey Star Trek fans, Dan Gunther here with a quick video review of the first Short Treks episode, Runaway. So this episode features Ensign Sylvia Tilly aboard the USS Discovery and a mysterious stowaway that she encounters while in the mess hall. The stowaway turns out to be a young teenager from the planet Zahia, a planet that has just recently acquired warp technology. Tilly soon discovers that she is a person of interest and planet Zahia wants her back. After sitting down and having a heart-to-heart talk with her, the two of them realize that they're very similar in their kind of insecurities about the future and the role that their societies expect them to take. Tilly is very insecure thanks to her mother, who is not exactly the most empowering person in the world. And the Zahian, whose name is quite long, but she actually shortens it to Poe for Tilly's sake and our sake, I suppose. It turns out she is actually supposed to be coronated queen of Zahia the next day and ran away to escape her responsibilities, as well as from her role in creating an important piece of technology for her planet. The two of them come away having learned a lot about themselves, and Poe returns to her planet to take her place as its queen. For the most part, I really enjoyed this episode. It's a nice little character piece, and I have to say I really appreciate that the length kind of serves as an interesting exercise in how to tell a story with these constraints. And I think the writers do a very good job, and the director as well, in bringing us this story in the very short 15 minutes that it has to tell it. Interestingly, I like that the story has the constraints of the current fan film guidelines that CBS has laid out for fans wishing to create fan films of Star Trek. So it shows that that sort of brevity is possible, and it's possible to get a very good story out of that as well. Because of the shortness of the story, there are some things that have to be sacrificed for its brevity. For example, there are a lot of scene transitions that happen very quickly that you just kind of have to follow along and pay close attention to. Also, at the very end, when Tilly beams Poe away off of the Discovery, we aren't entirely clear where she's being beamed to, and it's kind of left to the viewer to fill that in for themselves. And again, like I say, that's kind of a symptom of the length, which I'm okay with. You don't want to use up a lot of the time to kind of really deeply explain things and get into the minutiae of the story. You want to get at what's really important about the story, what's at the heart of the story. And I think this episode really shows how you pare something down to its essentials. So for example, I as the viewer thought that they were beaming Poe to perhaps a ship nearby that they were offloading the cargo from, because that's how she got onto Discovery in the first place. Or perhaps they are actually close to the planet Zahia and we just didn't realize it. Maybe that's where they're loading the cargo from. Either way, it's not essential to the story that we know exactly where she's going to at the end, just that the story is wrapping up and that she is leaving the Discovery now. I have to say, for sure, the highlight of the story is the performance by Mary Weisman in her role as Ensign Sylvia Tilly. She turned into one of my favorite characters over the course of Discovery Season 1, and it was a real treat to see her back here. She has some very trademark Tilly moments, arguing with the food dispenser, for example, and her on-the-fly excuse that a hormonal space rabbit caused the damage and mess in the mess hall was a fun little moment. She's an actor who has a great deal of range. I love things like her rage after having spoken with her mother and the really heartfelt moments between her and Poe. I can't really stress enough how much range she has to be able to play these broad comedic moments, but also the very quiet introspective moments as well, and come across as completely believable in all of them. I think this episode made a very good choice of focusing on character over plot and giving us these nice moments. And even though at 15 minutes it does feel rushed and goes by very quickly, it also doesn't have anything superfluous in it and really feels like a tight, contained story. I'm not really sure how to rate this one exactly because this is the first Star Trek we've ever gotten in this format. I do have to say I'm very excited by the format. I think a lot of really cool, really interesting stories can be told like this. So we have 4 episodes that are ostensibly tied to Discovery, specifically, but I feel like this is a format that could be expanded out to work in a number of different areas of Star Trek. So, for example, once the Picard series starts, there could be short treks that tie into that, or perhaps even short treks that bring in past characters for just a little taste of Star Trek. I don't know how likely that is, or if they have any plans to do anything like that, but I would be on board if they ever did decide to do that. How about, some Enterprise characters for an Enterprise short? Again, not probably likely. There's probably no sets left from Enterprise, for example, but how cool would it be to see just a little feature of Admiral Jonathan Archer or any of the other characters from Enterprise, just as an example. Some fans watching might have also noticed the new aspect ratio. The first season of Discovery was presented in a 2:1 aspect ratio, and now we get the more cinematic aspect ratio of 239:1. Which, gives it a more widescreen cinematic feel. And apparently this is how it's going to be going forward for season 2 as well. So I don't know. I really liked it. It's kind of ironic that we get this more cinematic feel for these smaller episodes, but it's a bit of a preview of things to come. And I personally liked it. I really like that feel that it gave. And the exterior shot of Discovery looked absolutely gorgeous. They tweaked some lighting, obviously, and shadows for the exterior space shots, and I hope they look more like that in season 2 as well. I really preferred that over what we saw in season 1. So all in all, I'd say Runaway was a success. I really enjoyed it. I think the next episode is probably the one I'm looking forward to the most. That is Calypso, and it'll be airing on November the 8th. That's the one that's written by Pulitzer Prize winning writer Michael Chabon, and I'm really curious to see what he can do with this format, and for Star Trek especially. So definitely looking forward to that one, looking forward to all of them. And like I said, I think this is probably the one I was looking forward to the least, maybe the Mud one, I'm not sure, but it came out really well and I was pleasantly surprised. So here's to lots more success with short treks and kind of whetting our appetite leading up to season 2 of Discovery. So what did you think of Runaway? If you had the chance to see it, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, as usual, thank you so much to the Patreon supporters for supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. And to everyone else, thank you so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe if you felt this video is worth it. And I'll see you all in the next one. Live long and prosper.